These are the herbs that will ease your rheumatic pains a bit.
Of course, my dear. At least I'll take some natural medicine produced from my own country's land. Don't say that all our wealth goes to the whites.
Don't complain. Thank God they didn't send me to the stoneworks on the pavement, so that at least I can take care of you.
If you can take a little care of the field, then we might get something from the corn at least. No, my situation is desperate. But the land always remains.
Calm down, Seiko. The land? Which land? You know that the whites didn't leave any good land for us at all. I don't think you want me to plow your fallow land.
course not, Nami. I myself spent all my life digging underground in the coal mines. Till my lungs were destroyed and rheumatism went down to my legs. They didn't give me the chance to work on my own land.
I have to prepare supper. It is time for Como and Billo to come back.
My two dear sons. I am afraid they will wind up as I did. Those coal mines. They destroy men as frogs destroy the swamp mosquitoes.
The day will come when there will be no more coal in the mines.
The brutes will find something else other than coal. There is zinc and copper and even gold. They go deep inside the earth in search of Africa's riches. It must be a patrol.
What do you think they want?
It won't take us long to find out. Come, get away from the window.
Does anyone of the name Billo Nergio live here?
Yes, I am his father.
Is there anything wrong?
Get away, you nigger!
Get out of here! Yeah.
Search the place. If Billo doesn't show up within the next 24 hours, I will blow this filthy hut. Did you hear me, you old nigger?
What is happening?
Calm down, Mother. Here I am.
What happened, Billo? Where is your brother?
They have arrested him with many other coal miners.
What? Why?
We're asking for a raise. Things got worse until we clashed with the police.
I understand everything now.
It's not over yet. We're going to face the scoundrels tomorrow with huge gatherings of workers from all the mines and force them to accept our claims. There's a general strike.
And your brother, Billo?
There must be sacrifices to gain our rights.
Who instigated you to strike? Speak up.
No one.
Do I understand it was your own idea? In other words, are you the one responsible for this strike? Speak!
We only ask to be paid for the effort we put into our work.
You know that you could have appealed in writing to the Director of Labour.
You mean Capo?
Engineer Capo! Don't forget he's black like you, and you can discuss matters with him.
A faithful dog who carries out his owner's instructions. You're the business of Capo! Not us!
Back to the jail! Next!
So, you were surprised by the strike?
Yes, sir. Things were going smoothly. Then suddenly...
This statement can never be accepted from a responsible man like you. You know pretty well that you are very much in contact with those workers. We have counted on you, Capo.
Sir, you know that I have never let down the company. But this time...
This time we had to call the police. You certainly know how much this will cost us.
I know, sir.
I don't mean the material losses that we are going to have after stopping production because of the strike. What I mean is the governor's position.
I understand, sir.
Capo, it is an opportunity the governor has been waiting for to realize his own plans, or say, to achieve some progress.
I know. He will try to set Strong free for another reign of terror among the workers.
This is one point. But what I mean is more important, Capo. The means that he uses in order to be able to exercise another pressure on us to give more concessions to the European companies he himself deals with.
I understand. Those companies which are considered as rivals to our groups of companies in Europe.
This, of course, will weaken our position considerably amongst most of our customers there. Now, if our Governor Stone could show the big companies that he is the person who monopolizes the supply of all the raw materials produced here and needed to keep their factories moving, then the next step in achieving his political ends and ruling the country would become an easy task for him.
I know he is really a staunch racist. No social justice could ever be realized in his presence.
If you know that, you can just imagine the situation the country may come to under such government.
What can I do, sir?
Capo, you will appreciate you are the first engineer and the one responsible for work movement and production in the mine.
Yes.
I need not remind you that I was behind the job you're holding now.
No, sir. I am grateful for that.
Miriam, Capo.
My wife, Miriam?
Yes. Do you think she is efficient? That she carries out her duties perfectly? In the Social Services Office?
There is no doubt about that. But I believe that Professor Spark is in charge of this office. And eventually...
Capo, leave the professor out of this matter. We all know that he works in line with the governor.
This is true. I think Miriam is aware of this. As you know, she's very much interested in the social conditions of the citizens.
It is not only for this reason Not only this reason that I plan to find her a job with the professor. Capo, it seems to me, my friend, that you are a husband who cannot unite his family's ideas.
Are you still insisting on going?
I have planned with some women to visit the jail. We shall take some food with us. We know that they will leave them without food for days on end.
Even the birds fly away these days when the police are after them.
He's my son, my Como.
He is my son, too. The way is long, Nami. He will not get there before dark. It is very perilous for you.
Take care of yourself until I come back.
If you see Billow,
God will look after them.
in the past, the slave trader took care of his man. He wanted him healthy and strong in order to sell him. Like a horse. Today, even the horse is not worth more than a handful of coal.
Well, how do you see the results, Professor?
I ought to ask this question myself. Well, I can say that the beginning is not too bad. And you, sir, you should know how to use it and give the instructions that serve your ends.
Frankly, Professor, our aims are the same, you and I.
You'll be the first to benefit, my dear Stone, when you grab power and wealth.
I think that you have more than a little money in the banks of Switzerland. This is a question of money. And when it comes to power, you know that you will always remain by my side forever.
Our main scope, dear Stone, is to teach science and culture in this country. We must not forget that. As you know, too much pressure will lead to an explosion, and then you know what can happen.
I am trying to transform a bushman into a human being who appreciates work and respects law. You know, Professor, that I'm fighting on two fronts. On the first front, I'm trying to domesticate the black citizens and to let them do what we want. On the second front, I have industrial and commercial men, like Oliver, who put spokes in the wheels of my political plans.
Frankly, my dear Stone, we all move around the same orbit for one scope, to work for the benefit of this country, to keep the industrial wheel going in Europe. The only thing that changes is the role of each one of us. In the same way as Oliver wants to make more money, you want more power plus making more money.
Don't forget your role, Professor.
I'm only a scientist, an anthropologist. I study the human race and its habits. My role is limited to developing social behavior between two human races, black and white. The scope is to keep reasonable equilibrium so that we can go on living in this country.
Wonderful. This is wonderful. But Oliver, as you know, is trying to upset this equilibrium when he insists to work with certain companies and not with others. He upsets my plans.
Oliver, dear Stone, is no more than a bridge over which our raw materials must cross to keep the industrial wheels forever running in Europe, as you mentioned. When necessary, any Oliver can do that. Africa is the only place that cannot be substituted. Nothing.
I hope that your theory will not apply to me personally. I am the governor, your friend, Spark.
History proves that man is not capable of leading himself. He cannot lead himself. He needs an authority to guide him and protect him from getting into the pitfall of selfishness.
I am that power which you talk about, Professor. Don't you agree with me? In this case, I must protect people like Oliver from falling prey into their own selfishness. I have protected my black servants and workers from falling into the illusion of equal rights, maturity, and ability.
I hope you realize also that we too in constant need of local workmen. Because the like of us, our people, are not born to practice such heavy work.
They say the culture of a country is measured by the workers and servants in it. Don't worry, Professor. Don't worry. I shall never change workers into partners.
Did the Major force you to confess anything?
No, of course not. And you?
My answers were limited to our grievances. The important thing is to resist, Meda.
Do you think that the other mine workers will support us today?
No doubt. We must develop things until we are able to reduce production in all fields. We then can force them to meet our demands.
Do you think that all this is worth the little money that we are asking for?
Let it be the beginning, Meda.
What beginning do you mean?
The beginning for claiming our rights. Tell me, Meda, can you read and write?
Don't tell me that you want to open schools for the tenants and workers.
I shall insist on opening schools for the sons of tenants and workers and farmers. For our sons, Meda.
We refuse their education.
We refuse their education, but not the science. The way to science is to be able to read it first.
Get us out of here! You have no right to keep us here! Get us out of here! You're giving us for nothing!
Silence!
Get out of here!
Silence!
Some of them need care.
I said silence!
We have had no food since we came here.
Very soon, you will get a good meal with the compliments of Major Strong.
In fact, he is an excellent cook.
May I know your job with the Major?
A women's demonstration in front of the gate, sir.
What? I shall soon return to teach you a lesson.
Is this the general strike you told me about?
What is it? What are you doing here?
Food. Food for my son, Coma.
It is forbidden to gather in this place. Go away. Go away.
It is my son. Understand? My son.
We cannot keep silent on such an attitude, Capo.
What do you mean, Miriam?
Don't be stupid, man. They have imprisoned women, too.
They are not my workers, anyway.
What did you do for your workers? Nothing, of course. You sit here in a comfortable house, feeling quite smug, while the citizens, not mentioning your workers, are imprisoned in jails of white people.
Nobody forced them into this situation.
They were forced by injustice and need and enslavement, forced by disease and poverty. They were forced by living in huts of mud and straw. This is what they were forced by, you educated citizens.
You don't expect me to remove this injustice with a magic touch. Do you want me to go ahead of the strikers in the streets, claiming their rights?
I don't believe you have reached to such a sacrifice. But all I want from you is to fight from your position as a responsible person for a big group of people.
No, my dear Miriam. I am a scientist, an industrialist, not a politician. Things like these
need a man. Yes, a man who is mature not only in science, industry and politics, but in everything. When he sees his country crawling under the feet of imperialism and the citizens exposed to slavery and humiliation and even destruction.
You ask the impossible. Can our ignorant people who are scattered in the forests and valleys stand against a white man with his methods and modern techniques? Think about it well. We have to take things slowly.
We have to surrender to a fact that is forced on us. Is this your answer? This is what convinces you? They have educated you well. You are nothing but a European in an African skin. You have adapted yourself to them the minute they accepted you in their university.
This goes for you too, Miriam. Didn't you get your education there too?
Yes, but I remained African in flesh and blood. I always said, we young people have to do something for Africa and its people. We have to resist the Tete and malaria. We have to work in order that every one of us will get his rights as an African.
Miriam, I often wonder how we agreed to marry.
"25 years underground. Oh, how generous they are. They made use of me more than was allowed by law, as all know. I got out with 2 fine prizes, as everyone can see. my lungs and my rheumatism. Where are you, Nami? You genuine African, you. No. Don't leave me alone. Billow, my son. Thank God for your safety, Billow, Billow. Your mother, Billow, she's not home yet. She went to see your brother in prison. Do you know anything? What's happened to her? What's happened to them? Do you know anything?
They have imprisoned her with the other women. And now she is with Como.
What? But she's a very old woman. Did you do anything for them at all?
We should have let her go.
I asked you. Didn't you do anything for her? What about the general strike, eh?
It has been postponed because of them. They have confused our plans. Don't worry, Father. Tomorrow the city will see a strike that has never been seen before.
We have stood for many years against imperialists, and for many years and many reasons. We have used bows and arrows, and stones and everything, and some of our best men have died. To no avail they died. Everyone knows.
Do you understand that you want me to surrender? To that illness and hunger spread amongst us? Darkness and death? No. We shall fight. We shall fight, and with every strength.
That is good, Anne.
Thank you. Well done, my dear.
Thank you. But do you think that I really played well, Father?
Of course. I wish you could play a little better in front of my guests.
If you mean Major Strong, then please allow me to give him up completely, Daddy.
What? I think we have gone through all that some time ago.
Anyway, Major Strong is not a guest. His coming here most of the time is because of his relations with your father, the governor.
No, Victoria. Anne is not a child whom we can deceive anymore. Major Strong is your fiancé, Anne. You must face this reality and accept it.
I have told you before that I don't like him. I do not see in him the man of my dreams. Do keep calm, Anne, please.
Of course I shall not force you, Anne. But you must know that I have chosen the right man for you.
Maybe he's the right man from your point of view as the governor. But I don't see in him more than Anne. I am sorry, excuse me.
Anne, come closer, child. Would you order some tea for us, dear?
Yes.
You know, Anne, we have been administering this country for some time. And I was only appointed to the post of governor after passing through many difficulties. Not only from the Africans, but also from people like us. Keeping the post is much more difficult than getting it. I've learned that we need people like Strong.
You can use him without forcing me to marry him.
This is true, but who can guarantee his faithfulness to me forever? We, my dear, live in a race for material profit. Many Europeans here are just like hungry wolves awaiting the weakest one to die so they can share the spoils between them and thus gain power.
I just don't see a connection between what you are saying and my marriage to the Major.
The Major is the thick stick that I raise in front of black people's faces. I, in reality, beat the blacks to frighten the whites. And anyone who ever thinks of getting a hold on my companies or even my power.
Do you consider me a part of your property, my dear Daddy? Don't forget that I am more than 21 years of age, and I can decide everything by myself, after informing you, of course, with whom I shall marry.
Anne, you don't live in Europe anymore. You are here in Africa, and you'll have to obey the laws of Africa. Ignore the fact it was me, your father, as governor, who enacted these laws.
May I leave now?
Anne, please think of the matter thoroughly.
$24,000 men working down there in the mines. 32,000 men who have also been forced to work in the mines against their will. 18,000 women in the fields every day trying to earn their meager living. 500 men in prison just because they asked to be able to see their wives.
Miriam, where did you get the last statistics?
If you ask Major Strong, maybe he can give you the right figure. No doubt the figure is much higher now and will continue to rise every day.
My dear Miriam, I do not deny that what Major Strong did was a rash measure. But he's a security man. We have a different task, and we deal with things differently when it comes to handling similar situations.
Do I understand that you have a plan to justify these people, Professor? I meant a more urgent subject. The imprisoned workers and women. I think our office is established to avoid these things, do not you think?
This is true. I have the plan.
Can I be of any help, Professor?
I appreciate your feelings towards your people. But this situation sometimes encourages you to act with urgency.
Let us not talk about your nation now. This imprisonment of hundreds of workers and the destruction of their homes. Doesn't it urge you as a responsible man with some authority to hurry up in handling their case?
I have prepared some suggestions for the governor. Please have a look at them.
You give the governor the right of giving instructions so that he can apply it to everything and all he sees.
I have asked him, as you see, to let out all prisoners in order to give us a chance, to give us more time. Do you see what I'm trying to do?
By this, sir, you make the governor a hero in front of the people. I mean a hero in front of the white people at least, and he will certainly be more attached to the post of governor.
Tell me, are you against the governor, Miriam?
No, it is not the form of government we had in mind, Professor.
May I remind you that we are working on social science and not in the field of politics. Our main task is to find a way to equality and justice between Africans.
The blacks, of course.
Don't forget there are white Africans too, born here in this country. The setting up of unions will certainly include all workers.
From this point of view, I strongly believe that the equality you mean, Professor, is only a professional one, if I am right. I mean it is limited only to the working class of both whites and black. But then...
That is enough, Miriam. Please give me the chance to proceed step by step. Things are difficult and intricate and need a time schedule.
I didn't allow the prisoners any food for 48 hours so that I could weaken their bodies and their minds, to make them concentrate on their hunger only.
What kind of food did you give them, Major?
Boiled beans, of course, is all I gave them. Naturally, I didn't forget to add a quantity of salt, which of course compelled them to drink the water that we gave them.
Doesn't this water hurt their intestines or stomachs, for example?
I had to take some of them to the prison hospital. Their situation was hopeless to such a degree that prison guards couldn't stand their yellings any longer.
Oh, and then?
I knew this morning that 4 of them passed away to the other world.
Please sit down, Major. I must admit that you run the police department extremely well. You carry out the policies that I'm trying to establish here in this country.
I am glad to hear that compliment, sir.
Listen, Major Strong.
I am all ears, sir.
You must realize, of course, that I'm trying to give this country a very unique future in Africa. If you read the history of imperialism in any part of the whole world, you will see it passing through 3 stages. We can call the first stage the stage of infiltration. This takes the form of scientific or commercial exploration. Then it develops into settlement, like the early settlers did.
That is right.
The second stage is what we call the fighting stage. This is when the imperialist interests spread and multiply, and commercial and industrial companies are then set up. They will certainly be resisted by the people, who by this time have become servants of the imperialists.
You are realistic, sir.
Here, at the beginning of the third stage, which is the most important in my view, companies call their governments in Europe for protection.
Thus military intervention comes.
You are right. This stage may take a long time, dear Major. But at the end, under the pressure of the black people, and for many other reasons, it leads to our evacuation. And then we have to leave.
Then?
Some imperialists may stay on in the country in order to protect their interests. This is when things may change altogether. And the old imperialists, by that I mean the educated European who had made every effort to raise the standard of the people of the colony and to improve their living, will become a second-class citizen.
This is impossible.
I'm only planning to stay on in this country after the second stage only, that's all.
We can do that with ease, sir.
No, my dear Major. It is not as easy as you think. We are living in this colony in the middle of a bubbling sea of African countries. Some of them are still under the imperialists, and others have already gained their freedom. The important countries are those countries that have already got their freedom away from imperialism altogether and have now become independent countries.
I didn't quite understand your last phrase, sir.
The danger, all the danger is that the wind of troubles blow from these countries.
They are far away, sir.
No doubt you know, Strong, that all African people, no matter the distances that separate them, have one thing in common that comes from history, race, and land. The important thing now is to tell me about the security measures you have taken. I understand that some of them are trying to encourage the rest of the mine workers to go on strike.
Don't worry, sir. I have distributed the patrols in the streets and crossways. I have taken the necessary measures to stop any movement.
You know, my dear Strong, that I'm trying to remind these blacks never to forget that we own everything in this country of ours.
It is understood, sir.
That is why I'm asking you to keep order and stop the strike from reaching other mines, and to keep production going and to protect the interests of the big companies. This must be done immediately.
This is impossible. The police have gone beyond their limits. Do you know what type of person this Major Strong is? Do you know the number of victims who will drop dead today, and the prisoners who will never leave those prisons alive?
That is enough. I shall contact the governor and ask him to do something.
Let us go together to see him.